Scholars and scientists carried out their work in Heliopolis for many centuries. Their studies led to important scientific and cultural developments. This work greatly depended on people's knowledge of the laws of nature and the world they lived in. With time, a number of cults were born, including the cult of the sun. A magnificent temple was built in Heliopolis, which was dedicated solely to the cult of the sun. Unfortunately, nothing now remains of this building. However, we can get a good idea of what it was like by observing the Sun Temple in Abu Ghurab, which is located close to Abu Zir and not far from Cairo. Not much remains of this temple, based on the exact same model as Heliopolis and built under Nusere's rule, one of the pharaohs from the 5th dynasty. However, it is the only one anywhere in Egypt of which any trace still remains.
The cult of the sun existed even in pre-dynastic period, more than 6,000 years ago. And the first temple that was established for the sun was in Dynasty 1, about 5,000 years ago. And we are actually in a place that contains many temples located in the area and dedicated to the Ramesside period. Many Ramses the second and the third and the fourth and the 11th, they built temples here. This place, the priestess even divided the year to 12 months. Every month is 30 days. Every year is 365 days. In my opinion, Heliopolis built Egypt.
The ancient Egyptians didn't know what the sun was exactly. However, they sensed that it was the source of life itself. This is why they venerated every one of its manifestations. And the god of the sun, Ra, was always the main divinity in their pantheon. He was the god of rebirth and was depicted in many ways. At dawn, he was Khepri, shaped like a beetle. During the day, he was Ra, portrayed as a man with a falcon's head crowned by a sun disk. Finally, at sunset, he was Atum, human in shape with a double crown on his head. However, the ancient Egyptians didn't just study the sun. They knew exactly where the cardinal compass points were, for example. Khufu's pyramid is a perfect example. The 4 sides of the monument are closely aligned to the 4 cardinal compass points, with an error of less than 1/10 of a degree. The Paris Observatory was built in the 1800s, and the aim was to align it to the cardinal points. However, its deviation is twice that of the Great Pyramid. Even though the tools they used were very limited, the ancient Egyptians already knew about the existence of 5 planets in our solar system: Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Mercury, and Venus. They were also able to distinguish between a number of constellations: Cygnus, Ursa Major, Cassiopeia, Sirius, and above all, Orion. We have been able to ascertain an outstanding correspondence between the position of the stars that form Orion's belt and the 3 great pyramids of Giza. It would seem that other pyramids actually correspond to other stars in the constellation. Just a coincidence? Or part of a message that the ancient Egyptians wanted to pass down? Over the centuries and dynasties, the cult of the sun became increasingly important, reaching its climax during the reign of one of the most controversial pharaohs in Egyptian history, Akhenaten. Akhenaten abolished the cult of the gods in favor of a single god, Aton, bringing about a complete religious and social revolution. Aton, the sole god and king, substituted the Theban sun theology, which worshipped Amun. The sun, first represented as a man with a falcon's head, was now identified by a disk. Rays shine out from this bright sphere, ending in stretched-out hands that carry Ankh, the key to life, to mankind, and to all creation. But who was Akhenaten? And why has this figure been the source of so many contradictions over the centuries?
It is fascinating to speculate about Akhenaten's personality. Was he a genius? Was he a madman? Was he a little of both? We don't really know, but he certainly was an innovator. His religion and his art, as it reflects his religion, was certainly very original. Especially from the early part of his reign, Akhenaten and his family are shown in a very unusual way. They have very elongated faces, overlarge jaws, swollen bellies, and spindly limbs. They look very strange to us. There's been a great deal of discussion about what these features mean. Are they a reflection of what Akhenaten really looked like? Do they perhaps reflect a congenital deformity of some sort?